Welcome back, DIVEBOMB IndyCar Podcast on sort of a nothing episode this week. Just a bit of news to go over throughout the last week or so in IndyCar. As you can tell, the off-season is getting very long. We're about a month and a half in, but we've still got another 4.5 to go. It's just sort of the overall plan, just to let you know. We're going to give you little news updates every week, a bit shorter, sort of 20-30 minutes news updates, and then hopefully we'll have some features like interviews and some other viewer questions about once a month or so, hopefully. So we'll have as many feature episodes as we can, but a bit like this week, we're going to be going over some news about the last week or so. So let's get on with the big news of the week. Agustin Canapino has been signed for the 2024 season with Juncos. So obviously there was a bit of a worry about his budget coming into the season, but maybe through the McLaren alliance, however they've done it, Juncos have secured the funding to provide him another season.
It would have been really sad if Canapino wasn't to continue, because you kind of feel like, I mean, he started off impeccably with the 12th places, and it was a surprise from the outset, but you kind of felt that he kept on improving through the year. Obviously closed out of Laguna with, it seemed for a period like he was in podium contention. He had a really strong qualifying. I think only just missed out from transferring for the first time ever. But yeah, it was a really, really good year, as we've spoken about a lot, and you kind of feel like there was improvement throughout. And I'm really intrigued to see what he can do in a second year. It just would have felt really harsh if funding, motorsport can be cruel and funding can be an issue, but if funding was to curtail his venture into IndyCar, it would have felt really harsh. So I'm happy to see him back for sure, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can deliver, really.
Yeah, I think as well, just having that kind of second year to, obviously he's had his rookie year, kind of get any of like the rookie mistakes out of the way, and just to kind of improve on that, and as got the funding and that, so it's just, there's nothing that can really stop him, and I just really hope that he does well for like the next season.
Yeah, it's nice to see Canapino back. We've gone quite a lot into how successful we think his season has been and what a great addition it's been to IndyCar, but I think next year's the only way is upwards. There were signs towards last year, like we saw at Laguna, of a really, really solid IndyCar driver who maybe will hopefully be fighting in the front of the pack a bit more, and he's obviously got that year of over experience. He's actually proved himself on the short ovals, on the super speedways, and with more short ovals coming next year, that will definitely play into his advantage. But he's going to have that experience of running at tracks before. There were quite a few tracks he did quite well at last year, and he'll have that prior understanding, which is going to be quite important going into next season for Canapino. And the relationship there's with the team, obviously him and Ricardo Juncos get on particularly well, him being Canapino's strategist. And yeah, I'm particularly excited. I think this year, maybe on paper, it wasn't particularly impressive, but obviously when you delve into it, it is quite an encouraging season. I think there is a lot to build on going into next year.
Yeah, and I think really the interesting thing is going to be what does happen with the second seat, because one would assume that it will be Callum Ilott, simply because there were links with him to McLaren. There's now that sort of alliance, the strategic alliance, I think, as they're calling it, and you would sense that really McLaren would want Ilott, in case if they expand to a fourth car, you would imagine Ilott's the guy they want, and to have him on the books at Juncos still would seem most logical. But it does also feel slightly strange that they haven't announced both drivers at once. I think there were suggestions that Grosjean could possibly come to the team. I think Marshall Pruitt said that, but maybe that was more in the event that Canapino didn't get his funding together, which obviously would have not gone down well with his passionate fan base. But yeah, I'm interested to see if/when Ilott actually gets formally announced. I think he said towards the end of the season that it was 99% certain that it would happen, but yeah, it's just slightly odd that it hasn't been announced.
Yeah, it is bizarre because he looked a lot more likely than Canapino to get. See, obviously he did say that before the incident of Laguna Seca. Obviously that might have played in his mind a little bit, questions his his value, his role in the team. Obviously, even Ricardo Juncos was quite supportive of Canapino in the whole situation. It just feels a bit bizarre. They weren't announced at the same time. My only theory is maybe he's on the sidelines with McLaren picking up in the fourth car for 25, but that could still be a long shot. That's just me hypothesizing, but yeah, it's just a bit odd he wasn't announced at the same time.
To be fair, you could say it would feel justified if Ilott did say, you know, I don't want to continue, and you know, you would understand if he felt a little bit out of place, given, you know, when there were all of the events of him, you know, being abused, being even given death threats, that you did kind of feel like the statements from the team were almost a little bit soft. They didn't quite come down hard enough on it, and you know, you'd like to see Ricardo and Agustin coming out and condemning what's being said by, you know, that, as I would like to think it is, just a vocal minority of Canapino's fan base, and not a group that's representative of sort of the wider fan base, which, you know, have been in part a good addition to IndyCar because it grows the fan base, you know, just of the series in general. But yeah, you would kind of understand if Callum did feel a bit like, well, what actually is my standing in this team? Because this is a guy who deserves a top drive, and he deserves to be held in the highest esteem at the team. And it kind of feels like with Canapino there, despite only coming in this year and in this new second car, is kind of the guy that they not favour. That doesn't feel fair, but you know, he is like the face of the team. So yeah, that is one thing. However, I don't think Ilott would sacrifice a seat there to risk having a year on the sidelines, because let's be frank, he's far too good for that. And his performances through the season, I think he did go under the radar a little bit, but had another really strong season of progress. And you know, it would just feel wrong if he went from having talk of him getting a seat at McLaren this year to sitting a year on the sidelines. And really, if he isn't at Juncos, I don't really see where else he would be. So I would expect it to get announced, but that's off absolutely no basis other than what Callum said towards the end of the season.
Yeah, my only other guess is Juncos wanted to get... It's hard to say Canapino's a star man, but at the end of the day, he's sort of the face of the team, being Argentine-based. Maybe they wanted the kind of PR from getting him and announce Ilott later on in the season. Maybe just to get hype for 2 announcements rather than 1. I'm not really sure. It just feels slightly odd. I mean, I hope he's safe. He deserves to have a seat. Absolutely. We'll see what happens with it. Yeah, it just feels slightly odd. The whole situation.
But it's also like, if you have 2 drivers that you know are going to stay on, surely you'd announce it at the same time. And if you're not, then like who are they going to replace Ilott with? Because it just seems weird. Because surely you'd announce it at the same time, more or less, unless, like I said, the kind of abuse and the kind of lack of support that he's gotten from the team has kind of made him stand back a little bit and not kind of sign on, or not signed yet. But still, it's so strange. Like, teams that surely would announce it together, and I feel like even if they wanted more like attention and all that from announcing it separately, surely then that would then look a bit like odd on them either way, because it's like, oh, why did it take so long for them to announce it? So maybe people would think, oh, something's like wrong with it, but I have no idea.
Well, I've got a theory who could replace Callum Ilott should he be out of a seat. Let's cast our minds back a few episodes ago. Ignacio Montenegro. No idea how he's getting on. No idea how he's getting on, but let's get Ignacio Montenegro in that Juncos 77.
Oh, God. Unbelievable. Imagine if it actually did happen. Just this random call, a scroll through Wikipedia. Yeah, this guy looks like he's good. He's fitting. Oh, my word. Yeah.
About a month ago, apparently.
It's not impossible.
Not impossible.
Yeah.
You never know.
It's not impossible yet.
It's not, well, who's in the lead? The standings in Argentine touring cars. Let's have a look. This is major stuff.
Well, this is the thing. At the time, I was trusting Wikipedia. I don't even know if he was
Well,
actually in the championship lead.
Ignacio Montenegro is currently first in the TCR South America Touring Car Championship currently, as things stand.
Is that the one? Is that the
no,
championship?
that's South America. In
Yeah, I can't claim to be
Argentine,
well versed.
he's currently 6th with 2 rounds to go.
Okay.
Doesn't look like he's going to win the title. I don't think. That looks like it's going to go to Lionel Hernia, a 48-year-old Argentine driver.
Maybe he's an outsider.
Maybe.
48 years old is not too old to be racing in IndyCar.
His brother played him for Boca Juniors, apparently, in the Argentine football. So Lionel here's got a nice, diverse, sporting family. Maybe the perfect fit for IndyCar. He's in good form. He's won 7 races this year, and he's got an 129 point lead with 2 rounds to go. He might already be the champion. No, I think he's got to wait a bit longer. He might have to wait a bit longer, but Lionel here is putting a good effort. Our friend Ignacio Montenegro has had a frustrating last couple of rounds, including 3 retirements in his last 6 races and a non-points finish. But as I said, he's leading the TCR South America Touring Car Championship, so there's 2 rounds to go there. And it's pretty close, so we'll see how that gets on. But outside of the Juncos seat, maybe Grosjean versus Montenegro. Let's get him on a test somewhere. See how they get on.
Maybe
I'm all for it. I think if he gets the seat, we're going to be all our bad predictions were nullified by Ignacio Montenegro taking the seat. But yeah, we will see what happens.
Imagine.
We need to manifest Ignacio Montenegro. Ignacio Montenegro, we will tag you in our podcast preview. If you're listening to this, please give us the inside knowledge. Are you going to get this Juncos seat? Because I think that is what's on the tip of the tongue of every viewer and listener right now. They need to know the state of Ignacio Montenegro. Right, back on topic, sort of. Let's have a look at Milwaukee. I believe Power Linus Lundqvist. Lundqvist seems to be doing so much testing at the minute, but we'll get onto that. We're testing at Milwaukee this week ahead of the return to the track next year. I think it might have been more testing, to be honest, but the Power and Lundqvist are the 2 I saw. They say they quite like the track, which is a good start.
Yeah, they were the only 2, I believe. It was a Firestone tyre test as opposed to a hybrid test. I don't know whether the hybrids were being run or not. I think Power was using the car that the hybrid engine had been in, so that was possibly the case. But I think more than anything, it was just, see how the tyres fare with this, at the end of the day, new generation of IndyCar around Milwaukee, because it's been, well, by the time it gets to next year, it will have been nine years. I think it's been off the calendar for 8 seasons. Yeah. 2015 was the last time they raced around there. But yeah, by all accounts, it felt good. And Will Power said it's not changed very much. He was victorious there in 2014. He also took pole that weekend. That was en route to his first ever championship. Yeah, he said it was a cool it's a cool oval, still is. And yeah, it's a low banking oval, which is slightly different to the other short ovals. I think there are differences between all the short ovals that are raced on in IndyCar. The other thing he brought up as well was it comes very late in the season, and it could be potentially championship defining, especially if you've got Joseph Newgarden in range. It could be crucial. But yeah, in terms of Linus, it's more oval experience for him. Obviously, he raced at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway last season, so he's got a short oval race under his belt. But it's another experience, and as much seat time as he can get with Ganassi ahead of next season, obviously will be really valuable for him. Comes after obviously testing at IMS as well on the oval, so he's a busy man, and he actually spoke about he likes his testing. He spoke about the sort of differences really between going from IMS to Milwaukee, which I think a lot of people have compared more to almost, it's the closest to a road course in terms of any of the ovals, but it's pretty bumpy, but it's pretty fast, Linus said. So, yeah, by all accounts, it's looking in decent shape before it returns to the calendar in, I think, is it August, September. August, September, it's the crossover, actually, 31st of August, 1st September. So we've got about 10, 11 months to wait, but
not too long.
IndyCar has made its return to Milwaukee, so yeah, that's pretty major news.
There were some concerns, weren't there, where the track was being a bit overgrown, it wasn't fit for purpose, but it looks like they have made good progress, which is
you had
fantastic.
like plants and grass growing out of cracks in the pit lane. So
not good.
Sorry, I think they've had a truck series race there. I don't know whether that was first time back this year or not. Obviously, I'm not.
I feel like it was.
Yeah, I'm not hugely well versed in NASCAR as much as probably a little bit more than South American touring cars, but I don't really follow the truck series. So I think this year was its return. I'll have a quick look.
Yes, return this year for the first time since 2009.
Okay, so yeah, that was there has been some racing on there. Linus said, he'd watched previous races back. He remembers it from, I say back in the day. I think it was on the calendar 2012 to 2015. So yeah. It's not massively long ago. But yeah, it's always interesting coming. It'll be returning to a track. I think it was the car. I think it was Aero Kit days that it was last in Milwaukee. So it'll be, a lot for the teams to get to grips with when we do return.
Cool. Right, a little bit of a challenge. Guess the top 5 the last time IndyCar went to Milwaukee. Chuck some names out there.
Oh.
I honestly have no idea.
Just throw some names out.
I'm gonna say Power was in the top 5.
Power retired.
Power retired.
I don't know who does.
Newgarden was P5. He took the pole
got
and he finished P5.
I feel like I have read. Threw Pagano out there.
Pagano finished 9th.
Castro Neves
was 2nd. There we are, number 2.
3 down. I went 2 down, 3 to go. God.
So one of them competed in IndyCar this season.
Rahal.
Rahal was P3.
Yes.
Now, P4 and P1. P4 last raced in 2022, I think. And P1 last raced in must have been 21. So both fairly recent.
Hinch?
Hinch was not in the top 5. That was the season he crashed at Indy, so he didn't compete.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Is it bad? I don't know my past drivers.
I think that's a 21.
Last time you would have seen them full time would have been probably 2018, 2019. Maybe other than that, probably 2016, 2017.
Do I bring up the Indy 500 entry list for 2021 and 2022?
I mean, you can do. F1 legend, kind of an F1 cult hero is one of them. He's a bit of an IndyCar legend as well.
Montoya
was P4, and the race winner. I'll give you a clue. He completed my favourite IndyCar overtake of all time.
Bourdais.
Sebastian Bourdais.
Oh, I was actually going to say Bourdais. I was actually going to say Bourdais, and then for some reason skips away from him.
Yeah, so running orders: Bourdais, Castro Neves, Rahal, Montoya, Newgarden.
That overtake, was it not, did he not have to give the place back?
Yeah, so in Long Beach, that yellow line is the pit exit line, and he went about a wheel over the pit exit line, and he had to give it back, which is such a joke, because he had to overtake 2 cars to his inside. There wasn't anywhere he could go.
Yeah. I mean, talking about good overtakes from IndyCar drivers, Scott McLaughlin, I think it was at Surfers Paradise, when he was completely locked up and got down the inside of another driver during his supercars days. Don't know many more details than that.
supercars. If you want some good entertainment, 2017 Newcastle 500. Scott McLaughlin uses the championship on the final lap. Might be a little for another day, but that is maybe the greatest ending of a race I've seen of all time. Level on points to win a championship and McLaughlin. I won't spoil it for you. Watch it. Watch it on YouTube. 2017 Newcastle 500. Cracking race. And Bourdais overtake. If you haven't watched it, give it a watch. He overtakes 3 cars in one corner. Yeah, one of the cars is about 20 metres in front of him, and he just chucks it down the inside into... Well, it's turn 2 at Long Beach, isn't it? Because Shoreline drives 10-1. But yeah, great manoeuvre. And then your top 10, if you want to know, was Kanaan, Dixon, Marco Andretti, Pagano, Ed Carpenter. And that's, to be fair, most of them have still been active.
Yeah,
recently,
Carpenter would have been a great shout for you.
Right, next bit of news. Let's go to Road Atlanta for Petit Le Mans. We spoke to a certain driver a couple of weeks ago who may or may not have been going with the Petit Le Mans. And what did he do? He only gone and won it. Tom Blomqvist, winner of the 2023 Petit Le Mans, alongside Colin Braun and IndyCar's own Helio Castroneves. Great result, and you know, we gave Tom that extra motivation he needed. Let's put it all down to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I actually feel slightly... I don't know whether you feel sorry for them or not, because they had 200 points deducted for this tyre infraction at the Daytona 24 Hours. And without that, they would have absolutely stormed to the championship. They, I think, finished 21 points behind the...
22, sorry.
22, was it? The number 31 Cadillac that ultimately won the championship with Pippo Derani and Alex Sims, and then Jack Aitken doing the endurance rounds as well. But yeah, they would have absolutely, it would have been a comfortable second successive championship win for Tom. But yeah, unfortunately that wasn't to be, but still comes out of the year with 3 race wins. And yeah, just an excellent way really to bow out from IMSA. He is actually going to be part of the Whelen Engineering Cadillac squad for the endurance rounds next year, so it's not a complete step away. But yeah, super impressive. Again, proving himself as one of the world's best sports car drivers, and it was good to see Helio on the team as well. I think I think I tweeted after the race, probably at some stupid hour about 4 a.m. I was. Yeah, I watched the whole 10 hours. So Helio after the race, you just couldn't wipe the smile off his face. He is probably the happiest man on earth. Like whenever you see him in front of a camera, no matter the situation, he's just absolutely loving life. And IndyCar will miss him, but it's good that he will still hopefully be around with MSR. But yeah, for MSR, that was them bowing out of IMSA for now. Acura have taken that car off them. I think Andretti are getting another.
Yes,
are getting an entry there. So yeah, more focus for MSR and IndyCar. But I think obviously we're not a sports car podcast, so we won't delve into the intricacies of how they may have had that taken away from them. But yeah, good end for Tom. Only a week after being on the podcast, so that was a nice thing for us to gloat about a little bit. Yeah,
I mean, what a week for Tom. Not only did he get to appear on our podcast, but he also won at Le Mans. Petit Le Mans, sorry. So I don't know which one I'll take, the podcast appearance, but
yeah, I mean, and that was only days after doing his test at IMS as well. So
no, slightly before.
A week. Was it?
What a week. Yes, our podcast was slightly before, then he did IMS.
The podcast was before, then IMS, then Petit Le Mans. Yeah.
Well,
that was impressive.
Speaks of his life, with the podcast included.
For sure.
But yeah, Tom, now we've made Tom famous. He needs to come back to thank us.
Yep, for sure. But yeah, we had some, actually a lot more IndyCar representation in the field. Actually, Scott Dixon was part of the second place Cadillac, the yellow Cadillac, the number 1.
With Sebastian Bourdais.
Sebastian Bourdais was a part of. So, that was he's again been kind of a bit of a mainstay in the endurance rounds. Did Le Mans, I think, with them as well.
Yeah.
Then Joseph Newgarden he kind of had his first venture into the top class of IMSA. in one of the Porsche Penske motorsport cars. The number 7, the other Porsche Penske car had some wretched luck. So Newgarden stayed out of that. Didn't really see much from Joseph, to be quite honest. I think he lost a few places during the only stint I recall him having, to be honest. It's quite hard to follow these races when there are 50-odd cars in the field. But yeah, again, it's good for him to get his first experience in GTP. Then looking down the field, we had more in LMP2. Yeah, so Scott McLaughlin and Kiffin Simpson. McLaughlin driving for the 3rd time this season, I believe, in the number 8 with Tower Motorsports. I think he'd been on the podium in each of the other 2 races in the 24 Hours of Daytona, and then won in class at Sebring in the 12 Hours, and also got on the overall podium there. But the 3rd driver in that team crashed before the start and then crashed at the very start, possibly as a legacy of damage that they didn't realise, but that put them over 20 laps down, which even in a 10-hour race is not particularly recoverable. So it was a bit of a test session, but yeah, more experience for them. We also had Christian Rasmussen, who I believe was actually leading for a period in LMP2, or at least I think he was definitely as high as 2nd. And I don't know whether I think his team were in the championship picture, but he actually had a crash late on.
Yeah.
Which, obviously wasn't ideal.
I would give a shout out to Nolan Siegel, because he won in both LMP2 and LMP3. Isn't that impressive? So,
yeah, good job. Yeah,
good job, Nolan Siegel.
Yeah, Nolan Siegel deserves a mention. Actually, he's had some real success in sports cars already, and he's still incredibly young, going into his 2nd year of Indy Next. I think he got confirmed this week, actually, if I recall correctly. So I think he got confirmed, but he's having some major sports car success, as well as having, it petered out a little bit towards the end, but really good first season in Indy Next. Devin DiFrancesco was also racing, which I was not aware of. I didn't see him at all. Then also looking Indy Next, Josh Pearson was racing. A lot of Indy Next guys seem to take a sort of dabble into sports cars. Rasmus Lind was another one.
Yep.
And then the only real other notable name for us in terms of IndyCar was Kyle Kirkwood, whose beard has returned.
Yeah.
But the number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus was the championship winning car. However, their day came to a bit of an abrupt end. I think it was Ben Barnacle who was driving when they basically smashed into a weighted advertising thing, and it ripped the bonnet off, which was not particularly ideal. But that team also involved Jack Hawksworth, who you just mentioned.
Yeah, and then Catherine Legg as well in GTD.
Catherine Legg as well. That's a good point. IndyCar missed her off off their list. However, I think she retired. I seem to remember she wasn't particularly happy with something or other with the car, and she ended up retiring.
I've also just looked at the list, and there's yet another Andretti I haven't heard of. There's just so many of them.
Is it Jared
Andretti? There's so many of them.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember having this debate earlier in the year, because I think he crashed at Laguna Seca. And it says Andretti has crashed, and which Andretti is this? Is this Marco making some random appearance in it?
Well, Mario keeps on hinting at racing something. He's like, put me in the F1 car every other week, so could be him one day too. And then you got Marco, Mario, too many of them, too many Andrettis. Yeah, I think that is about it from... Oh no, there is one more thing I forgot to mention. Diff is starting to create an iconic line. Is it possible? No, it is not. He's reusing that. We did notice.
You see, so I spotted this. It was when there was a late race incident with I think it was a Wayne Taylor Racing car.
Albuquerque,
Albuquerque pushed off by Pippo Durrani. It was quite controversial. Again, we won't get into the intricacies of it, because I think it was a no call in terms of a penalty, and there was a bit of uproar about that, a lot of debate. But as this is all unfolding, Diff is this now iconic. Is it possible? No, it is not. And it was like, obviously, that's not Diff's accent. We aren't doing the
We do
Aussie
apologise,
accent.
Diff.
Yeah. Sorry if you are listening. I don't know why you would be. Maybe, you never know.
There's planning on coming on. That's why.
Yeah, but then I was kind of racking my brain and thinking, where have I heard this? So I initially thought it was something in the Indy 500, and then it dawned on me. No, it's it was St. Pete when obviously the McLaughlin Grosjean crash. I think when Grosjean was trying to go around the outside, and absolutely it was not possible, and they both ended up in the tyre barrier. So yeah, I made sure to tune into the Peacock coverage just to hear Diff. Townsend was there. Kevin Lee did a stint. So
wow,
that was nice.
And here's Hinchcliffe going off to his Formula One. What a disappointment to that NBC.
Yeah, I'm missing IndyCar too much for our British listeners, our Sky Sports F1 watchers. Who will probably know Ted's Notebook. I mean, I was basically knowing that there were IndyCar drivers in the paddock, spending most of the half hour of Ted's Notebook just looking out for IndyCar drivers. And actually, on his Friday post-qualifying episode, spotted Hinch having a laugh with Marcus Armstrong. I think I saw Christian Lundgaard, providing he is there, which I'm not entirely sure if he is. And then someone who looked a bit like Christian Rasmussen with him, and I know they're friends, so it could have just been two lookalikes.
Talking to drivers there, we're speaking about our podcast, but Pato O'Ward and Tony Kanaan were having the time of their lives at COTA.
Yeah, we were saying it's like father and son. I mean, they're in the gym at the crack of dawn and stuff. It's TK's brilliant. If you don't follow TK on Instagram, then you're missing out. He's been posting about doing hot laps on the McLarens, taking people on the hot laps that they do in F1. So yeah, I mean, these are the straws that we clutch onto.
It's just
while there's no Indy.
They're just so funny. Like F1's taking such a serious sport, like the pinnacle of motorsport. It is the silliest guys from IndyCar just turning up on like a lad's holiday.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's so brilliant. Good. It's so. I think O'Ward's going to be at Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi, and I think TK will be there too. How about you get TK in for Piastri at Abu Dhabi and they're both doing FP1 together?
I'm just waiting for Ted on his notebook to collar one of the IndyCar drivers so we can hear one of their voices. That's how much we're clutching at straws. Or for one to appear on Martin's grid walk.
That throws me back to Miami, where do you remember Pelot was there as reserve driver and they labelled him as O'Ward? And then O'Ward posted his Instagram of him on holiday. And it's like,
that was amusing. Hey, Mexico though. I'm hoping they maybe get Pato in the commentary box or something. That would be cool.
Maybe, yeah, that would be good.
That would be cool. That's our hope. But yeah, I mean, it's
talking of the commentary box. Hinch is doing his shift at F1 TV now, so we're still getting some IndyCar. Well, we are clutching at straws here, but some IndyCar voices.
Yeah, no. To be fair, Hinch posted the post-qualifying and post-sprint shootout interviews. So,
well, he's commentating with Alex Jakes and BC.
Yeah,
I think.
Unfortunately, we don't have access to that. But I think
some of the highlights.
We get like the post-race show as well that they do. Yeah. So we get that too. So. This is what we do. This is
the off-season content you all need.
138 more days, and by the time this podcast comes out, it will be 136.
Excellent. We've probably run over it. Indy Next announcements this week. I could have bet you guess them again. Do you want to guess them?
Indy Next announcements this week.
Yeah. How many do you remember? There's so Rowe was already confirmed. There's 8 confirmed this week. 8 confirmed this week.
Nolan Siegel was one of them.
Nolan Siegel was one of them for HMD.
Bryce Aaron, who I believe won Euro Formula Open.
He came 4th in that this year.
Oh, so he didn't win it. That's my knowledge.
He didn't win it. He came 4th. He was announced for undrafted. There's a big one. There was a big one.
Louis Foster.
Well, he wasn't the big one, but he was announced. That was a big one, huge one.
Oh, Jamie Chadwick, of course.
Jamie Chadwick, back in the 28.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Was that in doubt? I mean, I did seem to sense from something that I don't know whether it was her speaking on Sky or something that there was maybe a little bit of stuff to sort out. I think obviously with losing the DHL funding, that was kind of a little bit of something.
Always going to stay.
So we've had that. It's quite hard.
3 more. It gets difficult now, to be fair.
Are any of them returning drivers, or are they drivers?
Yes. Sorry, there's 4 more. 3 of them are returning. I think all 4 of them are returning, actually. They're quite niche ones, though.
Reece Gold.
Reece Gold, number 10 HMD.
Yeah, I've not really paid much attention, other than the fact that they had a test at IMS, actually.
Yes, they did. Foster topped it, I think.
Yeah, Foster did top it, I believe. And
yes. Rowe Jr. was nice Andretti, Christian Berger for HMD, and Yuvan Sundara Morvi for Able Motorsports.
Yes.
I will just check that test. See if there was anything interesting from it. There probably wasn't.
Oh yeah, that was actually some Indy Next stuff we got from Ted's notebook. Is it Lindsay Brewer?
Lindsay Brewer, she's like a social media star.
Yeah, she's like some sort of influencer, but she was part of the test.
Yeah, but she was miles off the pace. She was 2 seconds off.
Yeah, but she hinted that she might actually be getting a seat.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I think
that would be interesting.
That's how they're getting Canapino's. That's how they're getting Canapino's funding in.
Maybe. I think she did. Was she in the USF Pro something or other championship?
Yeah, I think so.
She was somewhere in the road to Indy, but I didn't know anything about it, to be honest, until I saw her on Ted's notebook yesterday and realised she had
she did USF Pro
2 point something million Instagram followers.
It's crazy. Right, last bit of news that we've got planned. We'll probably go on for a lot of tangents here again, but the ticket prices for the non-championship Thermal Club event were announced. I can't remember the stat, but Las Vegas is something like the F1 is like 1.5 grand or something like that for a 3-day weekend ticket. Something like that. It's around there. I don't know exactly. It's something around that. But like Las Vegas is being made out as this ridiculously expensive event, like a complete joke, completely unaffordable to the normal human being. This non-championship race at the Thermal is 2 grand to attend.
For 3 days?
I don't know, just for the race. Because it's a one-day event, I think.
I mean, what I would say is it was always going to be exclusive. This is, at the end of the day, we are talking about a race that is being held at a club that people are members of, so they can drive cars on this track that nobody else has access to. So that says all you need to know. They will sell. I think there's about 2,000 or 3,000 tickets, so they'll probably sell them. They'll have all of, people. There'll be people who are willing to pay it. I think at the end of the day, this whole event may be sort of it's to fill the gap, but at the same time it is a possible money making sort of thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Where they've got an NBC
they've got to fund the millions somehow.
Yeah, they've got an NBC slot, so that's going to be helping with exposure for the series if it is some fun or perceived to be fun format. I know there've been a few rumblings that some of the drivers aren't necessarily massively enamoured by the whole prospects of it, and obviously would rather a championship race. But stupid prices, but this was never going to be an event that the regular fan would really turn up to. It seems like it is quite an exclusive thing.
Yeah. So, 2 grand spare. What'd you do with it instead of going to the Thermal Club?
I mean, for us, probably fun to fly over and go to a normal race.
That's Pato to say. Fund a trip to the Indy 500 too.
Yeah, fund a trip to the 500 for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but flights are like $1,000, aren't they? And that might be one way. So
we should just start a GoFundMe.
Fun flights. We'll figure everything else out.
We'll live skimping in the road, not in the road course, and IMS for 2 weeks. We'll stay in the golf course or something.
Or we could stay in the media centre. Maybe we can flag our way there.
In the media centre. Oh, well, now we're best friends with Tom Blomqvist and we made him famous. He can invite us to his motorhome. So thanks, Tom. Very kind of you. Say something else about it. Yeah. But how about everyone? You share this podcast to more people. You get our name out there. You give us 1 billion views, and we'll have the funding to go next year. It's all on the listeners. You haven't shared it enough. share it enough to someone else, and we'll get the money to go. This time next year, if you just share this episode to the next person, we'll own IndyCar by this time next year. I'm sure of it. We'll be making all the decisions. Roger Penske will be off, and we'll be owning IndyCar. We'll make all the decisions. What decision will we make? What's our first policy?
What did you say? What were you asking?
What's our first policy when we become in charge of IndyCar? What we're changing first? No,
really.
No,
What was? I mean,
The
yeah.
flag.
What did we say on our? We did the episode, didn't we, about what we changed? Blue flag rule.
You got to do something fun. You got to make like a stupid rule. Like every race, you've got to do a driver swap where you get a random fan has got to do one lap, and then you bring back a normal driver. You got to do some stupid rule, otherwise it's not fun. See, how fun would that be? You get 54-year-old Dave from New Mexico in.
It may cause the sport to lose its integrity, but it'd be fun.
It'd be fun. Do it a non-championship event. Get random people from the stands to do like 5-lap stints, and then what happens if Pelot's man ends him up like a lap down, and his Pelot's got the whole race to catch up, and because he's the best, you've got a challenge on our hands. So that would make it. Or they've got to have a NASCAR double up, and they go to IMS Oval. You've got to do the NASCAR drivers got to do a lap in this guy's IndyCar, and then the IndyCar drivers got to go in the NASCAR for a couple of laps, and it's a combined event. See,
wild idea.
It's a good idea though, because it'd bring in both fan bases. It'd be very popular. It's at IMS. I don't think. See, that's how they should have done the double-header weekend. They should have just literally combined the races and get the NASCAR drivers in the IndyCar and the IndyCar drivers in the NASCAR. That'd be brilliant.
The problem is though, would that actually end good? That's the thing.
I don't think so. They're all professional racing drivers. Well, actually, no, it'd be a bit harder for the NASCAR drivers than the IndyCars. I think some of them, dare I say, it might be a bit big. But we'll ever be the optimist.
Maybe that's the exhibition we need rather than thermal.
Maybe. Who cares
Maybe in
about
addition
Argentina?
to thermal.
Maybe. There's 3 weeks between that. No, 4 weeks between that and Long Beach. 2 weeks after the thermal. Actually, no, you need to do it after the Indy 500, don't you? So, how about on the Monday of the Indy 500 you do that race? Because, why not? That's good fun. I'd like to see it. I think it'd be a good challenge. Everyone's on, like, here's Castroneves and Daly wants to do Daytona. Let's just force them to do it. Let's not give them a choice. That would be fun. See, that would help Ignacio Montenegro next year as well, because he's got the touring car experience. So, it'd be this time next year, Ignacio Montenegro will be an IndyCar race winner by driving a NASCAR. No, sorry, 2 years' time. We've got to take over next year, and then the year after, we'll be sorted. There we are.
Seems doable. Right.
Yeah. See, this is what I said. You've all got to share the podcast with someone else. We'll share it to someone else, and then we'll get a million views, and then we'll take over IndyCar, and this will happen. It's a foolproof plan, in my opinion. It's a foolproof plan. So there we are. The viewers, you know your responsibility this week. So, do you have anything else to chat about or natter on about, or are we good?
Probably not.
Probably not.
We've probably flown enough off tangent.
We've ended up 45 minutes long. So we said we'd only be 20 minutes. We've doubled the content for the viewers. So it's a win-win this week, and you've probably had the most entertaining podcast yet. This is what happens when it's off season. You just go nuts. You just come up with wild ideas.
What is going to happen in 4 months' time?
4 months, we could start milking out season previews for 5 weeks. So
maybe.
So we'll get to like Christmas Day, and here will be like, what IndyCar driver's got the most festive name or something. So you've got a long way to go. But I think all round success. I think it's the most entertaining yet. The viewers should let us know. But I think, you know, next week there might be more to chat about. Although I feel like we've kind of used up a couple of weeks' supply, so we will see. But yeah, there we are. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to whatever the last 45 minutes of content is produced. it is much appreciated. Please do remember to share it so we can plan into action. And that will happen as of this time next year. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we might see you next week if there's the news. If not, we still might see you next week. We have no idea. We'll see you whenever.